Which one is
Yeah,
that?
library. Check. And then if it's okay, then I'll come in for them.
Okay.
Where the shooting was even before.
It's a new one.
Probably there was a door post before.
There wasn't, they created
Oh,
it.
they created it?
Yeah.
Okay, now yeah.
I'll bring it.
Okay, everybody keep your ears open.
At least someone.
Yeah.
Again.
Okay. So I gave Rabbi Duba a hard job yesterday. Chapter 10 is really a very difficult chapter, but we'll chew it over again. Did anyone see a paper go by? So I'm going to go over it again. This is a chapter that has to be chewed over numerous times, but we'll try our best. So what we learned in the Mimer until this point was that first he explained the idea of kasus, that when there's a challenge, when there's concealment, when there's something blocking, then when something's blocking, then this brings out the essence of the neshama. And with this he explained why in the times of Matan Torah, we didn't receive the Torah in the most complete way, even though Hashem was so revealed. And the time of Purim, in time of Purim, when Hashem was concealed, Datka then we received it in a more complete way, because there was concealment, because there were challenges, and because we were oppressed. That's why the essence came out. And with the essence, our Kabbalah Torah is in a much more complete way. So, after explaining that, the Rebbe says, so what do we do with the other interpretation that Yidden accepted the Torah in a complete way, not during the time of oppression, but during the time of the miracle? So first the Rebbe explains these are not two opinions. These are both true. There was an acceptance of the Torah completely during the time of the Gzeira, the decree, when they were oppressed. And there was also an acceptance of Torah completely during the miracle, both. But the question is, once the miracle happened, they were no longer crushed. They were no longer being challenged. They were no longer being oppressed. So what did it then? And the answer is that a Yid's essence, deep down, the deepest depth of his essence, wants one thing, that the essence of Hashem should be revealed in the world. And as long as that doesn't happen, he's broken and he's crushed to the core. So this is the difference. Before the miracle, during the time of the Gezerah, we were crushed. And after the time of the Gezerah, we were crushed. But the difference is, before we were crushed because we were being oppressed. And we were being oppressed by Gashmias and Baruchnias. After the Gezerah, we're also being oppressed. After the Gezerah, we weren't being oppressed, but we were crushed because of the mere fact that we're in Golus. This means that for a Yid, even if he has everything that he needs, Begashmias, everything he needs, Baruchnis, all the freedom, but as long as he doesn't have the essence of Hashem revealed in the world, he is crushed. And because he's crushed, the essence comes out. And as a result of that, they completed the process of receiving the Torah. This explains a little bit about mitzvahs. You're sitting down here and you do something like this, and the door opens up upstairs. How did that happen? And there are different doors, so you have different buzzers. One door opens through tefillin, one through mezuzah, one opens through neshek, one opens through kiddush, one through shofar, different doors. The only difference is we're upstairs opening doors downstairs, and we do mitzvahs, we're downstairs opening doors upstairs. Okay. I think this part was understood. We didn't have difficulty with this part. Now comes the next part, which is chapter Yud, chapter 10, where the Rebbe explains the Maimer, not only is a person crushed from the mere fact that we're in Golus, because we're on the essence of Hashem to reveal, even though things are good, but the feeling of being crushed when we're in Golus, even when things are good, in a sense is even greater than the feeling of being crushed because of oppression and things like that. It does even more for us. How's that? So that's what he's going to explain now. And anybody able to explain it to me after yesterday's class, or you didn't get there, it wasn't so clear, or we needed more, chew it over again? Anyone want to try? Okay, got my answer. Okay. Yesh Leimar. Let's do the top of the page again. That's the first introduction to this chapter. That's the main point of this chapter. Yesh Leimar, that the more haneshama hamizgalis ayidei ha'inyan dekosis, the essence of the neshama that's revealed from being broken and crushed just from the mere fact that we're in Golus, although things are good, is even higher than the essence of the neshama that's revealed when it comes to Mesiras Nefesh, that we're being oppressed and we have to give up our life for Hashem. It's deeper depth of the essence. How is that? Well, Inyanhu. One of the reasons we explained before that one of the reasons why the Torah was just the beginning, and only in the times of Achashverosh was the complete acceptance, is the fact that they received the Torah by Matan Torah, and they said Nasa v'nishma, was mepnei shekafa aleim har kegigis, gili mumayla, that Hashem took the mountain, held it over their heads, which we explained isn't just a physical thing that he threatened them with a mountain, but it means that Hashem revealed to them his love, and as a result of that, they were overcome with love for Hashem, and therefore, because the love they had was really a reflection of Hashem's love and a result of Hashem's love, therefore, it, in a certain extent, was not complete. It wasn't really theirs. And the Tevis Achashverosh, the love came from them because Hashem was hidden. Hashem didn't show them his love. On the contrary, on the surface, it appears to be just the opposite. The Eibushter had nothing but the opposite of love for them, and he was ready to apply this decree, Chas v'Shalom, that everybody be eliminated, Chas v'Shalom. So therefore, when they accepted the Torah, then it was really coming from them. I wanted to add something to this, which still remains a little bit not understood. So if that's the case, why did Hashem do that the first time? Why didn't Hashem the first time hide his love and let the Yidden say Nasa v'nishma on their own? Why did he wait 1,000 years for that to happen?
He wanted it to conquer them.
Right, so therefore he should have not revealed his love and waited for them to have love for him. Mr. Rocha, you look like you have the answer.
Yeah, I believe it's a good question.
Oh, okay.
I feel like it would be possible for Hashem to hide his love because his love's in everything. Like even if he tried, it wouldn't be possible.
But we see that at the time of Purim, he did hide his love. He did that.
Shvat and Torah, he didn't.
What?
Shvat and Torah, he didn't.
The Matan Torah didn't hide it. On the contrary, he held the mountain over their head. That means that he revealed to them his infinite love. So even that, holding the mountain over their head, was an additional act to explicitly reveal to them his love. If he wouldn't have done that, and they would say Nasa v'nishma, then the love would be coming from them. So why did Hashem wait 1,000 years for that to happen? If that's the ultimate purpose, so from the start, they should have not revealed his love, and then they would respond on their own, and that would be a complete acceptance of Torah.
But it's like a two-way thing. So someone has to do something first. Someone has to give a lot first.
Right.
So Hashem did that.
So Hashem, in the times of Purim, said, I'm waiting for you to reveal it first, right? So
no,
why?
In Matan Torah, he revealed it first. So he's waiting like over 1,000 years. He was just waiting for them to.
So why did he do that? Why couldn't he do it from the start? Hashem is going to say, I'm withholding my love, and I want to see that you love me on your own. And that's the ultimate, complete acceptance of Torah. That's what happened in the times of Purim, but why did he have to wait 1,000 years? Why couldn't that be at the start? What?
Hashem's patient.
Hashem wants to show that he's patient. That's definitely part of it. So the answer to this question will be similar to another question, and that is, how come that the Yidden, when they went out of Mitzrayim, they saw miracles upon miracles upon miracles in Egypt? When they went out of Egypt, the 40 years in the desert, the man falling from Shemayim, the clouds surrounding them, they were surrounded with miracles. Even when they went into Israel, there were Nevi'im, there were prophets, there was miracles like the sun stopped, miracles that the Jordan was split, miracles and prophecy. And Hashem is in a sense revealing himself, but as the generations went on, it got less and less. And especially after the first Beis Mikdash was destroyed, like how come if they had it then, why don't we have it now? And of course, people that have their questions in belief, they always say, yeah, that happened then. Why don't we see it now? So the general answer for this is as follows. Just like a human being, how do we start off our life? The first moments of life, no baby takes care of themselves. The only baby that took care of himself was one baby. His name was Adam Arishan. It says that when he was created by Hashem, he looked like he was a 20-year-old, right? But other than that, most babies cannot take care of themselves. So every detail of their lives, their mother takes care of them. The mother feeds them, the mother bathes them, the mother carries them, the mother puts them into bed, and the mother takes them out of bed. The mother does everything. And not only that, I understand that there are scientific studies that it's very important for mother to physically hold the baby. They say that babies that grew up by mothers who didn't have any time to physically hold the baby, they would put the baby down, prop the bottle some way that it should go, or they have these mechanical cribs that just shake by themselves, and the mother was busy doing what they were doing. They found that the babies who didn't have that, they had the mother actually feeding the baby, the mother rocking the baby, holding the baby. These babies grow up with much more sense of security and all these kind of inyanim. So the mother's physically holding the baby, physically taking care of all the baby's needs every single day. But then at a certain point, the baby grows up a little bit. And now the baby's 6 months old. Now the baby's 6 months old, 8 months old. And as the baby grows, the mother does less because now the baby can do things on their own. I don't have to carry the baby because now the baby can crawl. Now the baby can walk, and now the baby could run. And now the baby can take a spoon and a fork in their own hands and eat themselves. So slowly, the mother weans the baby of that dependency. And we know that as a child grows older, it's not just about feeding and eating. Everything, as far as our personality, we have to become our own person. And of course, this is one of the big problems where parents don't know how to draw the line. Sometimes you have children that the parents say, okay, you're on your own, but they do it at such a point in life where the children feel abandoned. And sometimes it's the opposite, that their parents are on top of their children and they don't let them do anything independently. They do everything for them. And these children don't know how to live as independent people. So we have to get the right balance. But the principle is that it's a process. First, the baby is totally dependent. And if the time when the baby depends on the mother, she feeds him properly, she dresses him properly, she takes care of his needs properly, bathes him properly, does all the things the baby needs, then the baby will grow up to be a totally healthy, independent child. And if it's not done properly, then in the future, it won't be able to be that totally healthy, independent child. So in a sense, the same is with Yidden. Initially, we can't just start off on our own. Hashem carried us all the way. Miracles, clouds, man. He showed us his presence very openly, holding our hands literally in a spiritual sense, that we see Hashem openly. You had to close your eyes and not to see him. And that continued for a period of time. And as time went on, what the difference that we see from one generation to the next is like Hashem weaning us of this dependency. In fact, the 40 years in the desert was the most. We mamish didn't do anything on our own. We didn't have to plow fields. We didn't have to work in the field. Food came from Shemayim. The clothing grew with us and was cleaned miraculously. The roads were paved miraculously. We saw the clouds around us all the time, which means that Hashem was like the little babies, mamish, holding the child constantly. Once we went into Eretz Yisrael, now you got to do things yourself. So it was a process of becoming more and more independent spiritually. And that's why when the Torah was first given, it wasn't that Hashem said, oh, they're not ready, so I'll wait and I'll wait. It wasn't just about waiting. This was actually a process, except with the baby, it's a 20-year process or a 10-year process. And with Klal Yisrael, it was a 1,000-year process. That first Hashem revealed himself to us, and then slowly he hid his presence more and more. But the ultimate purpose was so that we can come out and shine with our own independent connection to him. And that's what happened in the times of Purim. Is this clear? So the one thing that is being emphasized in this mimer, and we have to always remember this, and this is like a thread through all of Chassidus and everything about Chassidus, especially in Chabad, is this point which I mentioned before, but this is going to be the point throughout this chapter. And that is that when something changes in a person, but the cause of the changes comes from outside of me, it's not pneumius. It's not really something which penetrates deeply. It's not really totally me. But when something changes in me that comes from me, that's a true change. So if somebody's hypnotized and you use hypnotism to make them do the right things and to act the right way and to speak the right way because you're hypnotizing them, that's not me. That's somebody else is doing this to me. And even if it was a hypnotism that had some sort of permanent effect, permanently, not only, imagine this, not only I hypnotize someone to get them to put on tefillin every day, I hypnotize them to feel that they love Hashem. Did anyone here ever see how people are hypnotized? What happens? It's incredible. The guy tells him you're cold, the guy starts trembling from cold. Tells him you're hot, he's boiling from heat. Whatever you tell them, that's what happens to them. So imagine you hypnotize someone and you make them feel love for Hashem. So now they're not just doing it, they actually feel a passion for Hashem. Is it their passion? No. Why not? Because it's coming from outside. So when is it my passion? If it's something that comes from me, meaning my understanding, my perception, something that comes as a result of the way I feel about things, and that is basically, generally, it comes through understanding. When I understand that doing this and this is the right way to live, and do this and this is moral, and this is ethical, and this is appropriate, and this is gonna help me have a happy life, and therefore I decide to do the right things, then that's really me. So this is what the Maimon is gonna go into now. That in a certain sense, when the Yidden said Nasa v'Nishma, of course it was really the Yidden. And of course they loved Hashem. But on a certain subtle very, very sort of subtle, refined level. It wasn't ultimately them because it came as a result of Hashem's love. Hashem's love took them over. In fact, you remember the expression, not remember, we use it right here. Hashem held a mountain over their head like a barrel. So Chassidus says, why do you use this expression like a barrel? It means Hashem embraced them. A barrel, if you put a barrel over somebody, something surrounding them completely, it means Hashem embraced us with his love. The picking up the mountain was Hashem embracing us with his love. And when he embraced us with his love, we felt love for him. So on a certain level, it's not really me. But when Hashem hides his love, and I on my own come to the understanding and the feeling that I should really love Hashem and drop all the other nonsense that I was busy with and just connect to him, that's the true me, because it's coming from me. I can't say it's coming from Hashem's love. He's hiding his love. I don't feel his love. I don't see his love. And nevertheless, I feel love for him. That is the deepest, truest kind of love I can possibly have. Prendo? Okay. Yesh loima, the next paragraph. So you can say, Shamuna di Yisrael mitzad zeh shenashama shelamayla roya lekus, that on a more internal level, we can say this is the difference within a person himself, the difference between having a munah because the neshama sees godliness or because the neshama is one with Hashem. That when the munah comes because the neshama sees godliness, it's similar to Nasa v'nishma when the Torah was given. There's a part of me that's up there, and that part of me sees godliness. I don't see. The conscious me doesn't see it, but something deeper up there sees it, and that part of my neshama that sees godliness inspires the part of me that's conscious. So in a certain sense, it's also coming from something outside of me. And that's similar to what happened when the Torah was given. It was love, it was true love, but it was coming from someplace higher, not really from me. However, in the times of Achashverosh, when they received the Torah, we say that came from them. What happened then was that the essence of the soul was revealed, the higher level of Munah, that comes because the soul and the Hashem's essence are one. And when that's revealed, the essence, that's really me, because this is my essence. I just put this out on a piece of paper, even though it's very simple. But nevertheless, just to have something in front of you that'll help you understand, if you can pass this around. There is an H missing on the top. I'm just going to say this for the sake of those that are listening to us on the online, is that what I wrote on the paper is the following. First, you have one level, which would be described as the deepest depth of the essence. Then you have another level, which is described as the essence. Then, thank you, we have a third level, which is described as Giluyim of the soul. And I wrote 4 things. If anyone can think of a 5th and a 6th to make it more clear, Gesundheit. Giluyim means not the essence, but who am I? Who am I really? It's my perception, my value system, my personality, and it's basically what I'm conscious of. The feeling and the thoughts that I'm conscious of, that's me. And the essence is something which, even though it's there, but it's not the me that I'm conscious of. It's not my perception, my value system. This is not about my personality. So something happens to a person that jolts him, and he changes because of something overwhelming that happened and sort of lifted him off the ground. Even though I changed, and even though I was lifted, but it didn't come from me, which means all these things, my perception, my value system, my personality, not something that I'm conscious of, but something else that's higher and more powerful, lifted me off the ground. So that's the difference. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. I was going to say, could you say that like the personality, the value system, all these things are almost like the garments of the essence?
They're definitely, yeah, you could say they're like garments of the essence. Right, that's a good way of putting it. But in this moment, I'm trying to use the words, that's the real me. When I say me, myself, and I, all three of us, who is it? This is me, my conscious thought, my conscious feeling, my conscious perception of things. When that changes, that means that I change. And I'll give you an example, which is going to be brought down in the Mimer soon. And I'll give you the example before we learn it inside. Imagine this scenario: somebody who's not really committed to Torah and mitzvahs, doesn't keep Shabbos, doesn't keep kosher, has a good feeling about being Jewish, but practically not. And then this person comes to a situation, which we spoke about many times, that throughout the years of oppression that Jews went through, there were thousands of Jews, not thousands, hundreds of thousands, if not millions, that gave up their lives for Hashem. This happened in France, in Italy, in Spain, in Rome, in Babylon, in almost all the countries that Jews lived, in Morocco, in all these different countries. The Jews ran because in Poland, of course, in Russia, they were being forced, Chmielnicki, if you know the history, they were forced to convert, and if not, they'd be killed. And so many hundreds of thousands of Jews gave up their life. But the most incredible thing is that a lot of the people that gave up their lives were not only the scholars or tzaddikim, very highly, spiritual people, and not only simple people, but even people that were not committed to Torah and mitzvahs. But when it came to this point, they said, no matter what, I am a Jew and I'm never going to convert, and they gave up their lives for Yiddishkeit. How's that possible? Because the essence comes out. So what happened if a person lived like that, and then he was tied up to a tree, God forbid, and they said they're ready to light the fire if you don't accept Christianity, and he says, no way, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, and his essence came out, and then somebody comes and saves his life, kills these criminals, unties him, and saves his life. Does he become 100% from the next day? Or he might go back to eat a sandwich and just be the way he was? What would happen? It was a spiritual trauma, but what would happen on a daily basis? He might go back. I mean, probably something will change. He'll come to shul a little bit more often, but I don't think that his whole life will change. How's that possible? Here he's ready to give up his life for Hashem, not just in theory, but actually, and then tomorrow he's not ready to stop working on Shabbos or not eat his favorite sandwich.
I feel like that's unrealistic. Like, my cousins are like so secular, and I don't think they would give up their life. Like,
Right. So I would think that today things are a little bit different.
Okay, but this person.
And I'll tell you why today things are different. I think this is part of the reason, is simply because years ago, even people that are not religious, but they grew up with some sense of what Yiddishkeit. Today, a lot of people are in a sense, they're the way they grow up and their knowledge about the Yiddishkeit is so distant that it's not that they also have that potential, by the way. Everyone has that potential, but it's so distant that even under these circumstances, it's not going to rise to the surface. And how do I know they also have it? Because there are people who went through that journey. They went away from Yiddishkeit. They're looking around, searching. They found some cult or some other religion. They were inspired. They joined it, and then became uninspired. They kept searching. When they found Yiddishkeit, they were on fire, and they became observant of Torah mitzvahs. How is it possible that they went so far as converted to another religion? That's an indication they don't have that deeper essence. So how do they come back now? So the answer is, even then they had a deeper essence, but in their case, it was so buried that even converting to another religion didn't bring it out in them. And many times, it's not because they were threatened. On their own, they went and joined the other religion. So it just means that today, things are so buried and so hidden that it can even come to such a point. But years ago, it was more common that people who, even those who were not observant, but when it came to this point, they gave everything up and they gave up their lives. Yeah.
I've heard that when I've also asked nowadays it doesn't seem like that would happen, but people would tell me you just can't imagine until you're in that situation. But people still would, because it is about the essence, and isn't that the point that it doesn't matter how far removed you are or how irrelevant it is to you, that when it comes down to it, like because it is your essence, if that'll be enough.
Right. It does happen even today in certain ways, but I would say that today we have people who would not, like you say, they wouldn't give up their lives. Okay, that's what I need to do to be alive. I'll do that to be alive. Who cares? Or people that would actually join another religion without even being threatened. They just like it.
Like if somebody makes, I know that like there's certain things that, like for example, like if somebody would make fun of them for the fact that they're Jewish, then I know that they would like stick up for it. Like there's certain things about being Jewish that like people like
That would trigger the that would
Right,
trigger
right.
their connection to the
Right,
essence. It's
okay.
true. Oh, when I was in Australia many years ago in Shlichus, and there was one point where we were a group of 6 Bachrim, and then at one point we went to different places. So one of the groups went to Adelaide, very far remote place. No, it was New Zealand actually. And he met someone there that they got into a discussion, and he never had a bar mitzvah. And he said he's not Jewish. And he said, well, your mother's Jewish, yeah. Your father's Jewish, yeah. So why do you think you're not Jewish? Because you never had a bar mitzvah. So he told him that doesn't make you not Jewish. And he says, it goes like this. This was after the 6-day war. He says, now I understand. I was always thinking when the war came out against Israel, and I felt very strong, and I was thinking, what would happen if Israel and New Zealand would be at war? Who would I want to fight for? And I felt I would fight for Israel. I couldn't understand why. Now I understand. In other words, his Jewish spark came out that if Chas v'Shalom would be a war against Israel, he would be there to support Israel. You know? Yes, sure. It's too cold outside to be there. But in the time that it did happen, or even today, if it would happen, it's possible that the person should be ready to do everything and anything for Yiddishkeit. I mean, sometimes there are situations where a person is ready to marry someone. Really, they love this person with all their heart and soul. And they get to understand that by doing that, you're cutting yourself off from Judaism. And because of that, they give up the relationship. To a certain extent, to them, that's Mesiras Nefesh. But it doesn't mean that tomorrow they're going to keep Shabbos, kosher, and everything else. They gave up the relationship, but they might continue with other things. But if they gave up the relationship, which means that their essence somehow came to the surface, so why don't they do everything already? Once the essence comes out, then I want to keep Shabbos and kosher and all Torah mitzvahs. So this is the answer. When the essence comes out, because it's something sort of in some ways outside of me, it doesn't necessarily transform me, who I am. So my personality remains in some ways itself. I enjoy this, and I want that, and I don't understand the reason why I have to keep Shabbos or kosher or anything else. And therefore, both things happen at the same time. The essence is revealed. I'm ready to give up my life, but at the same time, my pneumius, my real conscious me, doesn't get transformed. It gets lifted. It gets lifted to the point that I'm ready to do everything and anything, but it doesn't get transformed. So when the storm is over and everything settles, I'm not ready to do the things which I wasn't ready to do before. You follow that? In the Maimon, the Rebbe gives another example. There were Jews in Russia that had Mesiras Nefesh, which means everything they did, they knew that if they're caught, they could be sent to Siberia, they God forbid could be executed. And nevertheless, underground, they had mikvahs, and underground, they had shchita, and underground, they had yecheder, they taught children, and their lives on a daily basis for years with the Mesiras Nefesh. That means that their essence came out and they were ready to risk their lives for Torah mitzvahs. Then the Rebbe said these people came to America. And there are a lot of people that now living in America, you can hardly recognize they're so relaxed about their Yiddishkeit that this is someone who had Mesiras Nefesh only a few years ago in Russia. How's that possible? Once the essence came out, so when they come to America, which is a free country, they should be so strong in their Yiddishkeit, much stronger than everybody else around them. And yet, they're sort of more relaxed. So the answer is because in Russia, the fact they had Mesiras Nefesh was because the essence came out as a result of the oppression, but it didn't transform them, the pneumius, it didn't transform their personality, didn't transform who they are and what they are. The conscious me wasn't transformed. The conscious me was lifted by a higher force. And therefore, once the storm is over and the oppression is over, and I go back to who I am is I'm more relaxed about this, that, and the other thing. Okay? So what's the point? The point is that when the essence is revealed, it doesn't necessarily change the pneumius. What's pneumius? Pneumius is who I am, the conscious me. The essence is something deeper that I'm not even conscious of. It's there, but I'm not conscious of it. And the conscious me is the part that I feel on a daily basis, the way I perceive things, what's important to me, what I love, what I don't love. This is the conscious me. And that can only be transformed through learning and understanding, and that transformed me. So we see that I'm a person who changes their lives. And so a lot of things that before they came from, they enjoyed or they're very proud of, now they actually don't feel they're embarrassed even to talk about this and this happened, because now they see it differently. It's not just a wind, it's my personality. Something in me has changed. My value system has changed. My perception of things has changed. So the same thing that before I could have been proud of and felt so good about it, now I feel the opposite. Doesn't mean that it's with everything, but with whatever it is, that means it's a pneumius liquid change. It's an internal transformation. So again, what the Rebbe is saying is that when we say that a person gets changed because of the essence, there's a difference. If it's coming from the fact that the soul sees godliness, which is our essence, but it's not the real depth of the essence. The soul sees godliness. That change in me is not pnimis, it's in some ways external. But if the emunah comes because the soul is one with Hashem, that's the deepest depth of my essence. When that changes me, that's really me, because that is my essence. That's who I am. If you get this part, you can get the rest of the mimer.
Can you say this too?
If I can say it again,
Yeah.
I'll try.
No, just these two you said.
No, I could now that Rebbe is saying like this, that when the emunah comes, because the neshama up there, the neshama in Shamayim sees godliness, and that makes me have emunah, that's not something which transforms me, the pneumius. It's like something outside of me is affecting me. So the conscious me is not totally transformed. But when something comes from the deepest depth of the essence, and that changes me, that's something which has an effect on my personality, has an effect on, it's a pneumius that could change. Then when the Yidden accepted the Torah in time of Achashverosh, it was not just something outside of them, it was they themselves. This became their thing, that they, from their perspective, from their feeling, from whoever they are, they accepted Hashem. In the times when the Torah was given, to a certain extent, of course they said Nasa v'nishma, but it was something outside of them. So the Rebbe is saying it depends on which part of the essence it comes from. If it comes from the deepest depth of the essence, it transforms us consciously. If it comes from the other part of the essence, it doesn't. So let's see again, two dynamics. At the bottom of page 70, 71. So what we're saying is,
Rabbi,
yeah,
so when they fully accepted the Torah during a first time, that was after the Aman, that was after Purim, right? That was when they were still in college, that they
both.
fully
There was both. One was an acceptance during the decree, and the second one was another acceptance, even more, after the decree. And the Rebbe is saying that was even greater, because that really came from the deepest part of the essence, and therefore it's much more transforming the conscious. That's more considered it's coming from us, because Hashem was concealed. This is called splitting a hair. we're talking about the essence, and we're saying that in the essence, there are two levels of depth, two layers of depth. There's one layer of depth which doesn't transform the conscious me, and there's another one that does transform. The deeper one does transform the conscious me. And the Rebbe adds that even the essence of the neshama that causes Mesiras Nefesh is also not the real true essence. Why? Because regarding the Keiches Hageluyim means the conscious me, it's still like something additional, something adding, something that's outside of me that's affecting me. And here the Rebbe brings the example that I mentioned. Like we see with many people, when they lived in a place that was, they had decrees against Torah mitzvahs like Russia, they had Mesiras Nefesh, not just in theory, actual Mesiras Nefesh. They did things where their life was at risk. And not only for a moment, but they did it for many years. And the same people, when they came to free countries, where they can learn Torah and do mitzvahs without any limitations, you cannot so much recognize in them that these are people who once had Mesiras Nefesh. They're much more relaxed about their Torah. I remember once, actually it was Yutas Kislev, and had some friends. We were in yeshiva, but these are young Bachrim who just recently came out of Russia. It was Yutas Kislev. And they're saying to us, it's really interesting. When we were in Russia, we looked for a Farbrengen. Nobody would tell us where there's a Farbrengen because you weren't allowed to gather. That was like, if you gathered together, then the Russian government, the communists said you're probably planning a revolution. So more than 3 people together in one room was a danger. So they wouldn't tell them. But these were Bachim. They wanted to find out where's the Farbrengen, where's the hiding place. And then we would go there and we'd sneak behind somebody. We knew he's going to the Farbrengen, this old chassid. And they followed him and they got there and they were there. I said, now we're sitting here in New York. You don't have to hide. You don't have to run away. You don't have to risk your life. I don't feel that, that urge, that drive to go look for a Farbrengen like I felt over there. That's what the Rebbe is saying. How could it be? The drive here should have been twice as strong because now there's nothing blocking. And the answer is dafka, because there's nothing blocking. Therefore, I don't feel that essence. And if I don't feel the essence, I go back to who I really am, which is more relaxed. The fact that he had Mesiras Nefesh for many years is because Heir Bohem Gili Etzem Neshama, the essence was revealed. And the essence is something which is higher than the conscious me. It's sort of outside of the conscious me. And therefore, the conscious me didn't totally change as a result of it. It just lifted me, it pushed me, but it didn't transform me. So when I come back to a place where the essence is no longer being revealed, there's nothing pushing, there's nothing lifting, so I go back to my personal personality, which is more relaxed, and that's the way I am. One more line, we'll have to explain that more tomorrow. But when the essence of the neshama is revealed for the other reason, because the person is crushed from being in Golus, and the essence of my neshama wants to be one with Hashem, that comes from the deeper dimension of the essence. That comes from the deepest layer of the essence of the neshama. And when that's revealed, it transforms the conscious me. The conscious me is changed, that I personally, from my personality, from my perspective, from who I am, I want to go out of Golus. I want to see Hashem revealed. To be continued.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Tzlach, everybody. If you have any questions, prepare it, and we'll deal with it tomorrow, Mitzvah Hashem, if you can fall asleep tonight.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Welcome. Yes. Bill. Okay.
What are 3, they're like in the back of my head, and I'm not thinking of them right now. Things that you should give up your life for, isn't it?
One is
giving up your religion and adultery.
murder.
And adultery.
Adultery, yeah.
Oh, murdering someone else just for like
If someone says, if you don't kill them, I'll kill you, am I allowed to kill the other person?
No. But how do you know, like, in that kind of situation, if you're actually gonna, you know, like, I don't know. We can talk about it later. I just don't understand really, like, the if somebody says, like, you have to convert to another religion or die, like, I don't know.
There are issues in halacha, like, is there any way around it? There are such things.